I've said this time and time again, over and over again, to as many people who would listen. I don't have a problem with anybody asking for more money. So just to give you some context, Baker Mayfield signed a 3-year deal worth about $100 million, right? Making about $30 million a year. I think $50 million of that is guaranteed. And his contract will end after this upcoming season. So Baker's in contract talks with the Bucs, and he's been quoted as saying that they're nowhere near any agreement. And they're nowhere near any agreement because Baker Mayfield presumably may want north of $45 or $50 million. And you may be asking yourself, well, why would a quarterback who hasn't won a Super Bowl, why would a quarterback who hasn't been to the Super Bowl, why would he be asking for $50 million? And I think there are a couple of reasons. First, this is an organization in Tampa Bay that won their last Super Bowl with Tom Brady. And I consistently tell people and want to remind people about this. I think Tom Brady was a big reason they won the Super Bowl, but he wasn't the main reason. Defensively, they were the main reason that they won the Super Bowl. But they needed a guy like Tom Brady with his experience, with his championship pedigree, to come through and really help Tampa Bay learn how to win at that level. Because the first Super Bowl they won was back in 2002. So that had nothing to do with any of the players back in 2020 or what have you. But Baker Mayfield had the baton passed to him and has done very well. Now, outside of last season where the Bucs managed to not make the playoffs for the first time in like 4 or 5 seasons, they had been consistently winning the NFC South, and Baker Mayfield has been a guy that has been productive when it comes to QBR, when it comes to passing touchdowns, when it comes to passing yards, when it comes to rushing yards and touchdowns as a quarterback, has been one of the top 10 quarterbacks in those categories, and has also been durable. In the past 3 years, we're talking 54 regular season games in the playoffs, hasn't missed a game. So it doesn't get better than that. So in Baker's mind, this is why he feels like he needs to be paid. Now, in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' mind, they're saying to themselves, you're a quarterback who has not won a Super Bowl, presumably. Now, they haven't come out and said this, but I'm just speaking from the lines of an organization who's looking at trying to build their team. But here's really the biggest reason Baker Mayfield thinks he should be making north of $50 million. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, who now has recently signed an extension that gets him an average annual salary of $64 million. He's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL based on average annual salary and should have always been. Regardless of what endorsement deals he gets, he's the best by far. But Dak Prescott's making $60 million a year. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford all making $55 million a year. Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert are making $53, $52 million a year. I read you the top 10 quarterbacks. So from 2 to 10, there's one player in there that's won a Super Bowl, and that's Matthew Stafford. Can you sit here and definitively tell me that Justin Herbert's had a better career than Baker Mayfield? You cannot. Has Brock Purdy presumably had a better career than Baker Mayfield? Now, Brock Purdy may be an outlier because he was the literal last NFL draft pick as Mr. Irrelevant, drafted in the 7th round, and has been to a Super Bowl and has led the team to multiple conference championship games. So he's dealt with injury, but Brock Purdy has been somebody that's played at a high level and has gotten further than Baker Mayfield. But Trevor Lawrence, no. Jordan Love, no. Josh Allen has won an MVP, and so has Lamar Jackson. So those are guys that I think are better quarterbacks or have played better than Baker Mayfield. Here's the point. I don't blame Baker. Don't blame Baker for wanting the money, and I don't blame the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for maybe not wanting to give him the money that he wants. I blame the market. Because, see, the market is dictated by what NFL teams place value on. And it's been a long time known that NFL teams have placed more value on the quarterback spot. And it's not because quarterbacks have proven to you what they can do. It's because of what you feel like they can do. They put projected value on quarterbacks. Is that wrong? I don't know whether you're right or wrong. Sometimes you won't know until the outcome plays itself out. But what I know is when you have all of these quarterbacks that are first-round draft picks, like a Baker Mayfield, they get the benefit of the doubt. And Baker had to go through a lot of adversity. Of course, we know what happened in Cleveland. Even though he helped them win a playoff game, he had to go to Carolina, had to go to the Rams, and now find his home in Tampa Bay. And he feels like it is warranted that he get paid like top-tier quarterbacks. But here's the problem. There are so many quarterbacks getting top-tier quarterback money that are not top-tier quarterbacks. That's the league. That's the market. That's what's been defined. So if you're Baker Mayfield and you're sitting down and you're chilling with your family in the offseason, you're seeing all these quarterbacks get all this money, and you're saying, you know what, they haven't had better years than me, or if they've had years that I've had, why shouldn't I get that money? But here's where the rubber meets the road, everybody. It's about what the player values, but it's about what the team values. And a lot of times they don't value the same thing when it comes to contract negotiations, which is why you have the NFLPA involved. Baker wants long-term, high-dollar money. Tampa Bay wants long-term, high-value play at the quarterback spot. but are hoping to get it at a $30 million a year, kind of where they are right now with Baker. He thinks he's outperformed his contract. The question is, does Tampa Bay? That, to me, is the crux of the situation, and that's what we have to look at when determining what's going to happen in the offseason. I think this is fascinating because, in my mind, all of these contract negotiations and everything in the NFL are like miniseries that you watch on like Netflix or Hulu or whatever other streaming app or on TV. There are a bunch of miniseries. Now I want to know how this miniseries plays out. Will Tampa Bay get what they want? Will Baker get what he wants? Or will both get what they want and end up on the same page? It's pretty fascinating to me.